guys, and welcome to the first episode of a Glasgow Kiss and Tell podcast hosted by me, Sophie Gravia. I have thought about doing this podcast for such a long time now, but to be honest, I didn't really have the balls. Recently, I've started doing more live radio. I've been on the telly for a wee bit. I've started being guests on regular podcasts, and I just thought now is the time. So yeah, I thought let's just give this a bash and see what happens. Now, this is the first episode in my podcast series, and it's just basically a wee introductory episode to tell you all what it's going to be about. So, I'm Sophie, I'm 31 and I live just outside Glasgow in a wee place called Bellsill. I am a mum, I'm a nurse, but I'm probably better known for being the author of A Glasgow Kiss and What Happens in Dubai. I suppose I should start by explaining to everyone who hasn't read my books that I'm not your average author. I'm basically writing and over-analysing what happens in every girl's group chats, before dates, after dates, and during dates. I like to analyse what women and what men do and basically how far we'll go to find love. And I just go in far too much detail, chatting about the exchanges of body fluids, in all aspects of dating. Romance for me is not sexy. I've been single now for such a long time. I've dated a lot of guys, and I can promise you that there is nothing romantic about dating, especially in this day and age. I suppose I picked this genre writing because I was so fed up watching Netflix and all these sort of dreamy romantic shows that just painted romance and painted girls going out and finding the perfect guy, and I just started to wonder, why do we never see these girls worry about having the vodka shits the next day or having to shave their arsehole or anything like that? So yeah, I started creating a blog about it, and that's how all of this started. I'm going to throw it back to 2019 and basically tell you how I got here. I was 28 and I hadn't dated in a long time. I'd just graduated from nursing a few years. I was on my own with my 2 kids and I was absolutely skint. So one of my best friends, Sarah, came over and we had a wee night in and we ended up watching a Tony Robbins documentary on Netflix. And it was all about finding these light bulb moments and how it can change your life and everything like that. And I knew that I loved nursing, like I absolutely love it, but realistically, I couldn't sustain a life just on that wage. So me and Sarah were talking, and I remember watching it and coming to the end and actually saying to her, I feel like I've had my light bulb. And she was like, what is it? And I said, I'm going to write a book. And she was really encouraging, considering I've never written anything in my life, and I left school before I even done my higher English or anything. And she basically said, like, go for it, yeah, what are you going to write about? And I was like, I have no idea. Maybe a kid's book. But nothing really came of it, and before I knew it, I forgot all about it, and the light bulb moment just totally disappeared. So 6 months later, I had rejoined Tinder and I started to date. I was determined I was going to find love, or probably find somebody to pay half my bills. And straight away I was chatting to a guy who seemed really, really nice. We spoke for a few weeks. We had arranged to meet up, but obviously being a single mum and not having any babysitters, it was really, really difficult. So in my wisdom, I decided to meet him the night before I went on a holiday to Ibiza with my pals. One of my friends was getting engaged and we all decided to meet up. I'd go on this date and then I'd go straight on the plane with this guy. So he seemed really nice, business guy, had the full package, nice house, nice big rangy, you know the script, right? And he picked me up. We went into a nice restaurant in Glasgow, in Finnieston, and went for dinner, had a few drinks. I should probably add in here that I was wearing a bodysuit. Now, I don't know if I'm the only girl that does this, but when you're in a night out and you've got a bodysuit on, it obviously fastens for the bottom. So the more drinks that you have, the harder the buttons are to fasten. So every time I went to the bathroom, the drunker I was getting, I felt like I was solving a fucking Rubik's Cube down there. Like, I could not work it out. I was like conscious that every time I went to the toilet, I was taking longer and longer. So I decided, let's stitch the nicks in the bin, keep the bodysuit fastened and just pull it to the side. Pure genius, right? So back to the date. It was going well. The drinks were flowing. And to be honest, I didn't even think he was being overly flirty with me. Like, he seemed nice, but there was no vibe that I was actually wondering, like, does this guy even fancy me? So we had a good time, and then after it, he invited me back to his to get a taxi back to my house, which I went. So the next thing, I'm on a taxi to Lanark. The two of us were sitting, good chat and stuff like that in the taxi. Like I said, no kissing, no touching, no hand holding, no anything. And then the next thing, I am back at his house. So had a couple of drinks there, and I'm really conscious now that I've got 2 hours to leave to get on this flight. So I went to the bathroom. I was like, I'm going to just go to the toilet and then I'll need to head. So I went to the bathroom and came back out. But this time when I came back out, he was kneeling on the floor right beside me. So I was like, are you all right? Like, what's happening? And he says, oh, I just want to know, like, how long have you had on your pants tonight? And I was like, what? And he says, I just want to know how long you've been wearing your pants. And I'm thinking, mate, the pants get ditched back in the club. So I was obviously not going to say that. And I was like, try to act all sexy. And I'm saying, oh, I'm not actually wearing any. And he says to me, well, how long have you had that bodysuit on for? And I'm starting to think, oh no. And he's kneeling right at my crotch. So I was like, a few hours. And it seemed to like totally, he loved this, right? His face was all lit up. And he took a big massive sniff. So he just went right into my crotch, right? And I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening right now? Now, I've had a few drinks. I'm standing there in his living room just watching this happen. So then he starts pulling up my bodysuit at my stomach, like, and I could feel the buttons just ping open at the fan down. And I'm going, what is actually happening to me right now? So he starts unravelling my bodysuit up from my leather trousers. And I'm standing there in the living room looking like I'm wearing a big giant baby vest at this point because it's hanging over my trousers. And I stops him and I says, look, I'm sorry, but nothing's happening here today. This is the first time I've met you. I had a moment of pure clarity and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And he just looks at me in disgust, like that I've even suggested that. And he said, like, no, I don't want to have sex with you. Like, what are you talking about? So then I started feeling a bit bad. And I was like, oh, sorry, it's just like you're down there. And he says, no, I've to be honest with you, I've just been wanting to do this all night. So he grabs one end of the bodysuit and just starts sniffing it, like so ravenous, right, with this bodysuit, sniffing it, licking it, sucking it. And I'm just standing there watching this happen, right? So I'm just looking down, watching him doing this, tarnishing my bodysuit, right? For a good 5 minutes. Like, it was a long time when you're sitting in that experience. And I'm just watching him and he was like totally talking to himself, oh my God, oh my fucking God, like under his breath. And then I starts wondering like, oh, what am I going to be doing tomorrow in Ibiza? Like, I'm totally zoned out, but then I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening? So I stopped it. I says, listen, I need to go and catch this flight. And he says, no bother. And I left. So I went to the airport, picked up my pals, sat in the plane with my hoodie on, just totally reflecting on the night, thinking, is this what the dating world has came to? I hadn't dated for such a long time by this point. So we went to Ibiza, and the next day we were all sitting around the pool, and I was telling my friends this story and we were all pissing ourselves laughing. And one of the girls turned around and says to me, you know, you should blog this. And as soon as she said that, I thought back to the Tony Robbins thing, like 6 months earlier, and wanting to write. And it was like a light bulb moment. And I just thought, oh, that's so strange she said that. However, on that holiday, I also broke my hand in Ocean Beach. And before I knew it, I was having to get a wee operation in my hand, and I was off work for 8 weeks. So that 8 weeks, I started the Sex in the Glasgow City blog. Basically, it was an online community, and I just wrote dodgy dates and blogged about them online. Girls would message me, guys would message me their dodgy dates. I would rewrite them and just share it. It probably had about 1,000 or 2,000 followers, but the content was hilarious. I was anonymous when I was doing it, and it was just hilarious. It was such a good time blogging, and I really, really enjoyed it. So then, the end of 2020, COVID hit, and yeah, all my blogging days had stopped. The hospital was crazy, still working full time at this point, and I started lying about the house basically, and no dates, no nothing, and my life kind of just stopped, the same as everyone else's. And one day I was in the hospital, and we had to go on this wellness session. And basically, loads of different members of the team had to go in this session just because it was so horrible and all the things we were seeing. We sat around a table and just explained, we took around and say one thing that each has done for ourselves during lockdown. So obviously this room's full of doctors and loads of really academic people. And they started, so I'm sitting in the middle of the room, and they're saying how they've took up the piano again, and somebody had started playing the cello, learning different languages and abstract painting, and it's coming to me and I'm thinking, oh my God, I fucking lie on the couch eating pickled onion monster munch and watch Netflix like most of the day. So when it came to me, they said, and Sophie, what about you? What do you do for yourself? And I pure burst out crying, and I was like, I don't do nothing. Like, had this big dramatic moment in front of everybody that I work with. And that night I was totally shamed, but I went home and I thought, right, I'm going to turn these blogs into a story. And I started writing a Glasgow Kiss, literally mapped it out in a spider diagram between like my dodgy dates and my friends' dodgy dates, and that's how a Glasgow Kiss started. I finished writing it. It took me about 10 months to write it, and it was hard work. Like but I got into it. I really, really got into it, and I loved doing it. It would make me laugh. It would make me come home from work at night and be totally buzzing to start writing the next bit of this book. I googled like how to get published and stuff like that, and was basically told that it was impossible for a first-time author to get published. And I knew I wasn't very academic in terms of the way that I wrote, so I didn't think I would ever get published anyway. It was just more to make a book post up for my blog readers that I wanted to do. And I remember saying to my friends, like, oh, if this gets turned into a book, I could maybe make like £500-600 off it. Then the next thing, I YouTubed how to self-publish on Amazon, and I tried to get a graphic designer. Again, it was costing hundreds of pounds, but I found this wee guy from Turkey who was going to make up me a book cover for 40 quid if I told him what to do. So he done that, and I self-published my book on Amazon. It was the 13th of December, and I put on a Facebook post to like 300 followers that I had at the time, like not much, told the blog post about it. Hey guys, I've wrote a book. It's about dodgy dating, quite similar to the blogs. Like, if you're up for it, it's a good Christmas buy or something. Went to bed absolutely cringing for myself, thinking, what the fuck have you done? Like, this is embarrassing. All your family will read this filth. And the next day I woke up, turned my phone back on, and it was trending, #1 bestseller in the Amazon charts, and literally was an overnight success. So that's the kind of story about a Glasgow Kiss. A few weeks later, I was then approached by a publishing company and they offered to sign me. So I went with Orion, a publishing group down in London. They offered to sign me for a Glasgow Kiss and also gave me a contract for What Happens in Dubai. And that released in August 2022 and also became #1 bestseller in the Amazon UK charts. So yeah, that's kind of the story of where we're at. I've also signed a contract for a new book and my third and final instalment of the 3 books, because they're all based on the same character. Meet Me in Milan is out on August 17th this year. And yeah, fingers crossed, like it's a hat trick. I'm buzzing. It actually became #1 bestseller, Meet Me in Milan, before it was even out, like based on the pre-orders alone. So I'm just hoping that people actually like it now that they've bought it. So all the books are based on the same character, based on hard dating life disasters. A few of them are my dating life disasters, my friends' dating life disasters, and people that write in, similar to the blog posts, and just tell me what's happened in their life. Like, there's some pretty fucking crazy shit that happen to people. It's about friendships and just general Glaswegian banter as well. So Meet Me in Milan will be available in Waterstones, Amazon, and things like that. That was something the publishing company could do, was obviously put it in the shelves, what Amazon couldn't do. So it was honestly life-changing to go into a shop and see our book there. So basically my panty sniffing gusset sucker changed my life. I've managed to buy a new house, a new car. I no longer stress about paying my bills. I've got a book launch party as well, all lined up in August, which sold out in a matter of hours in Wonderbar. And I've also got one on the 3rd of September in Revolution in Edinburgh. There is still a few tickets out there as well for that event. But all in all, life is going pretty well. So I thought this was the perfect time to start the podcast. Obviously blogging back then was the thing, and I really loved it, but vlogging has totally took over, which is why we're here. So my plan is to bring a podcast and just bring a few guests on and just chat about general life in Glasgow, chat a lot about dating and what dating is to that person, and dodgy dates and icks, and basically dramas of their life, and just talk about all their sort of sexual experiences. I'm going to have a dilemma of the week and read it out, where a guest writes in and tells us their dilemma, and basically me and whoever's on will try and give like a not so expert opinion on what we can do to solve it. So that's the plan. I hope you guys enjoyed this wee introductory video. Massive thanks to Podcast Studio for creating the content. And yeah, thanks for listening.